It was the year when people went gaga over a car, a new kind of shuttle went out really far, and video killed the radio star. Here are the 10 most entertaining, romantic, sublime, perplexing, innovative, tuneful, touching, intense, outrageous stories of the year. Who can forget 1981?
Are your kids in bed?
The marriage of Prince Charles and his lovely lady, Diana Spencer. After all the months of publicity, the drama, the build-up, it finally happened.
The world lost its mind over this.
It was the fairy tale that everyone bought into.
It's like right out of a Disney film. You've got the young girl who's marrying the slightly older than her prince.
Charles did pretty good. He was hitting above his weight on that one.
The one thing about royal marriages, the British, they do them right.
This was a massive spectacle.
I remember getting up really, really early to watch it with my mom.
Every woman in America was like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up.
The glass carriage pulls up and Diana emerges in this unbelievable ivory silk dress that had 10,000 real pearls sewn into the fabric.
She was almost to the altar and that thing was still coming in the door.
The three things you can see from outer space are the Great Wall, the pyramids, and Princess Diana's dress.
This wedding had 750 million people viewing it worldwide.
The last thing that big to come out of the United Kingdom was probably the United States.
I, Diana Frances, take thee, Philip, Charles, Arthur, George, my wedded husband.
As a reminder to everybody at home, you shouldn't have too big of a wedding because there's nowhere to go but down.
American royalty was also wedded that year. American soap opera characters, Luke and Laura.
Everybody's mother was obsessed with this.
I think it's difficult to grasp now, but soap operas were massive in the 80s.
He was the bad guy, and she was the goody two-shoes girl.
Luke actually raped Laura, and then somehow she fell in love with him because soap operas?
They're like, okay, here's the plot. He rapes her, she falls in love with him, then they get married. This is gonna sell a lot of detergent.
Laura Weber Baldwin, will you take Lucas Lorenzo Spencer to be your lawful wedded husband?
November 17th, the big moment. Luke Spencer is marrying Laura Vining.
My mom at the time was a stay-at-home mom. I just remember her friend Roseanne calling her and being like, oh my God, are you watching this?
It was the most watched moment in soap opera history.
30 million people tuned in during daytime television. Okay, methinks a lot of people called out sick from work that day.
How does this affect you? Why do you care about this? No, if you'll excuse me, I have to go watch Star Wars again.
On March 6, 1981, Walter Cronkite signed off from the CBS Evening News for the last time.
Walter Cronkite, that's the way it is.
If the news was music, I think Cronkite was the Beatles.
My mom would try to time dinner so that we could eat before Walter Cronkite.
He was the inspiration that a lot of Americans like myself had for eventually getting into TV.
He started out as a war correspondent in World War II, and he kind of worked his way up in what was a new medium.
To say the 1960s and 70s were a turbulent time in this country is a massive understatement. But Walter Cronkite served as a narrator in those years.
When something big happened in America, people just automatically clicked over to see what Walter Cronkite was saying about it.
You always see that moment of Walter Cronkite revealing to the American people that JFK was dead. He's holding back tears.
I get choked up just thinking about it right now. And I think most Americans did.
Walter Cronkite turned against the war, and I'm not sure whether I turned first or he turned first, but his turning was the seminal moment.
As the famous line goes, if I've lost Walter Cronkite, I've lost the country. It was true because he was the most trusted thing we had.
His last broadcast, was something nobody wanted to miss.
I remember being in my dressing room on Saturday Night Live, and I saw the TV in between rehearsals, and I had to watch it.
It still wasn't about him on the way out the door. There wasn't the lap around the stadium in the golf cart.
Dan Rather will be here in my place. And we watched. I said, Dan Rather's going to sit in, which I thought was cool because you know what? I did a pretty good Dan Rather back in the day.
Walter Cronkite retired way too soon. He could have told a lot more stories.
He's one of the last people that prioritized the story over their own story. And I think that's what we miss more than anything about Walter Cronkite in this day and age.
Trivial Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit was so popular.
Every family had Trivial Pursuit in their home.
This is my jam. Stand back. I will dominate you.
I do remember playing it and not being very good at it.
Man, I even played this thing in Spanish.
Trivial Pursuit started when two Canadian guys couldn't find pieces to their Scrabble game, so they created Trivial Pursuit, which is maybe the nerdiest thing I've ever heard.
You know, leave it to the Canadians to come up with a gaming thing out of nothing. Have you seen curling?
This game was the opposite of gym class. The people who got picked last in gym class got picked first.
There's always one nerdy guy who knows all the trivia, and he can finally dominate everyone.
People would turn into historians all of a sudden.
If you could win at Trivial Pursuit, you had bragging rights.
Nothing makes a good, wholesome family break out into a violent encounter like Trivial Pursuit late night with a few drinks in dad.
One of the greatest things about the Trivial Pursuit board is it was built in a way that was as flimsy as your friendships after you played it.
Does this go first? And then it? Nope, that's not right. Hold on.
See, no, because now, see, why didn't they just make it a one-fold?
Who was the first US president to hold a televised news conference? I am gonna go with JFK.
I'm gonna say Harry Truman.
Eisenhower?
What's the most commonly spoken language in Belgium?
Belgian?
Spanish.
It's not German or French, it's Flemish.
I'm gonna say French. Boom! French! Oh, snap! Give me a piece of the pie!
This is for people my age who are starting to lose their memory. It's good to go back and play the original Trivial Pursuit.
It's time for a Who Can Forget pop quiz. What arcade game that debuted in 1981 featured a main character known as Jumpman? Was it A, Donkey Kong, B, Frogger, or C, Defender? The answer is A, Donkey Kong. Jumpman, later renamed Mario, was on a quest to rescue Pauline from the clutches of a barrel-throwing ape.
I never saved Pauline, never. One of my great failings in life. Like if someone had said to me in a job interview, what's your greatest weakness? I might say that Pauline is dead and it's my fault.
Johnny Mac was my favorite athlete of the 1980s.
I thought McEnroe was the best thing to happen to tennis.
Not since Rodney Dangerfield walked into Bushwood Country Club has there ever been a loud punk rock slap in the face to a champagne and caviar sport.
John McEnroe definitely not known for his manners.
He's got the crazy curly hair. He just looks like a madman on the court.
John McEnroe has killed more rackets than the FBI.
It was McEnroe's first round at Wimbledon in 1981, and he's facing Tom Gullickson.
McEnroe's serve goes screaming into the other court. Ump calls it out.
Even Gullickson thought it was in.
Like if there was instant replay, John McEnroe, he had every right to be upset.
The umpire is not going to walk it back in the middle of Wimbledon, and therein comes the famous John McEnroe line.
You cannot be serious.
You cannot be serious.
You can't be serious.
Clutching at their lukewarm gin and tonic. How dare he raise his voice?
McEnroe just let it go and said, "You guys are the pits of the world." And that is when he had a penalty point taken against him.
But Johnny Mac doesn't stop there. You know, he goes over the line judge's head. He calls for the referee.
John McEnroe pulled the tennis equivalent of asking to speak to a manager.
And even while he's talking to the referee, he's still giving it back to the umpire.
Even the ref has had it by then. Hits McEnroe with another penalty.
Despite the rage and fury that is now dripping out of every pore of John McEnroe's skin, he actually puts away Gullickson in 3 sets.
He had the game to back up the temper.
It's what the sport needed. The sport was too waspy. Is it okay to say that? Can you say waspy?
He ushered in the era of kind of like the rebellious player. I mean, there's no Andre Agassi without John McEnroe.
The best thing to happen to tennis since that Celis girl and all her moaning.
Dispatch, we have a 911. I'm Rockland in progress. See surplus store, corner People's Drive, 124th Street.
Hill Street Blues, man.
Oh my gosh. Dun, dun, dun. Great theme song.
Hill Street Blues premieres in January, and it was an instantaneous hit.
It won 8 Emmys out of the gate.
8 Emmys in 1 year. I got nominated once, and I lost.
The thing I remember most about Hill Street Blues was just the way it looked.
You know, it wasn't this warm, inviting show. It was like a cold, steely blue.
Interesting cinematography, handheld cameras. They had these extended narratives throughout the show.
Up until then, all the cop dramas had been very rosy, kind of like, I'm off to the office. Shine up the badge.
It was gritty, it was dirty. The characters had problems.
One guy's sleeping with the public defender. The other guy calls everybody a dog breath.
He'd be barking at people, biting them. You're like, that guy's got issues.
It was the first show to probably portray the cops as less than perfect, and it popped with a lot of people.
The most groundbreaking police show until Dennis Franz showed his ass on NYPD Blue.
When you think about police dramas, or any dramas of today on television, they owe it all to Hill Street Blues.
The sleek, stainless steel DeLorean is one of the most awaited automobiles in automotive history.
If the 80s were a car, it would have been the DeLorean.
No one had ever seen a car like this.
To me, the coolest part about the DeLorean was how the doors opened, how they went up.
It's like a pigeon with headlights.
It, of course, had the rear-mounted engine.
Its unpainted stainless steel surface allowed you to literally buff out scratches with a Brillo pad.
Legitimately looked like a spaceship and left every other car in the dust.
Drive the DeLorean. Live the dream today.
The DeLorean was a passion project out of engineer John DeLorean's amazing brain.
He had worked for years at General Motors in the Pontiac division and a whole bunch of other basic car divisions. But in 1973, he thought, I can do this better and sexier than anybody else, so he left.
The first DeLorean rolled off the assembly line on January 21st, 1981.
1981, not the time to introduce a new concept of car.
You had the auto industry kind of imploding at that point because you had Japanese imports that ran better than a lot of the American cars.
He sold 9,000 units before he ran into financial trouble.
So he does what any normal person would do. Sell 220 pounds of cocaine for $24 million.
I mean, it looks like a drug dealer's car, let's face it.
Unfortunately for John DeLorean, he tried to sell this cocaine to an FBI informant, all of which was recorded on video.
DeLorean's lawyer claims, you know what? He was entrapped. He was lured into this. And guess what? He was acquitted.
And then, of course, the DeLorean became famous when a crackpot scientist picked up a child and took him to the future.
DeLorean never gave up on his vision. He swore that the company would be reincarnated. He had designs on a DMC-2, and unfortunately, it never came to be. There was a Back to the Future Part 2, but not a DMC-2.
May 11th, 1981, Andrew Lloyd Webber unleashes Cats onto the world.
I love Broadway musicals, but Cats is weird.
You know who really needs entertainment? Crazy cat people.
Cats has taken in $3.5 billion. That is a lot of frisky.
No one should have been able to walk into a pitch meeting and say, yeah, we've got these feral, homeless, drug-addicted looking cats, and we're gonna sing a Barbra Streisand song in a junkyard, and everybody's gonna like it.
We're probably about 15 minutes into it, and I'm just thinking, what the hell is this show about?
I made it to the intermission, and then I just tapped out. I couldn't.
No disrespect, by the way. 8 shows a week is an impossible thing to do, especially dressed as a cat.
Cats was one of the first times where the actors left the stage and came into the theater and would harass the audience members.
Duh! You're like, I don't have any money. I'm sorry. I can't give you anything. It was uncomfortable.
I did not pay for an audience participation show. Get back on the stage.
It's probably an improvement on Hair. Bunch of naked hippies running around the theater, right?
There was the one song, Memories, that was everywhere.
Memory.
You couldn't escape hearing that song. At family gatherings, there's always somebody's aunt.
Some cat comes out and dances.
It did not translate well into a movie. We know that for a fact.
The whole experience of Cats, I do believe now, looking back, was a cry for help.
And it's probably still playing somewhere tonight.
August 1st, 1201, a whole new way of watching television comes around.
MTV. Oh my goodness.
That's a good riff. That's a powerful riff.
MTV changed the whole landscape.
Next thing you know, you have Generation Xers, sitting in front of that TV for hours on end.
I would watch it all day long. I would watch the same videos over and over again.
It was music, it was trend, it was culture, and it was angled towards a group of people that were really ascending towards television in a huge way.
I want my MTV!
The early days of MTV were amazing. They were so edgy, no one had seen anything like it.
I remember them calling me and saying, hey, would you and Eddie Murphy, would you come down to MTV? And we said, what's MTV? We had no idea, you know?
The first song was The Buggles, right? Video killed the radio star.
Oh.
It really set the tone for what was to come.
Although I do think that the radio star ended up killing the Buggles.
All of a sudden, you fell in love with the music because of the video.
For the first time, we get to see what these people look like.
That's what REO Speedwagon looks like?
Now, with MTV, you had to have the look.
It made a lot of people very famous. MTV DJs.
They were like rock stars.
We got Mark Goodman, J.J. Jackson.
Alan Hunter, he had that wonderful mullet.
Every kid my age was either a Nina Blackwood or a Martha Quinn guy.
They were like the Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin of pop culture. They were the 5 originals. I had the great fortune of meeting all of them. I always got the sense that they were so thankful for the part they inhabit in our cultural pantheon.
The world was changed forever. I mean, music videos. For a little while.
There's nobody out there that associates MTV with music television now. They associate it with Snooki getting punched on the Jersey Shore.
MTV used to actually show music, and now the only sounds I hear are my own tears.
But then again, when's the last time you learned anything on the Learning Channel?
It's time for another Who Can Forget pop quiz. What move was first broadcast on television October 15th, 1981? Was it A, the moonwalk, B, the wave, or C, the electric slide? The answer is B, the wave. The cheer, popular with sports fans, was first seen on TV in a 1981 playoff game between the Oakland Athletics and the New York Yankees.
Say one thing for the wave. It's probably the most exercise some of these people are going to get all day, except maybe the trip to the hot dog stand.
The Space Shuttle program was a huge turning point.
America's back in space, baby.
The Space Shuttle had swag that we hadn't seen on a rocket before.
It wasn't just this tube that takes off with the little tiny capsule on the nose of it.
It looked like the space travel that we were promised as kids, watching things like Star Trek and Star Wars.
This is the future. that I'm seeing with my own 2 eyes.
If you had a space shuttle that year, it was a hot toy to have.
Instead of toy cars and stuff, they were buying space shuttles.
It made every kid my age want to be an astronaut. I, too, wanted to be an astronaut until I found out there was a lot of math involved, and I went a different way.
The Columbia Space Shuttle launched on April 12th, 1981, and the viewing stands at the Kennedy Space Center was filled with the who's who of NASA elite.
People had traveled there from all over the world. The crowd in Cape Canaveral's massive. I think they say 25,000 people are watching this locally.
That was exciting, man.
The initial burst of energy, the smoke, the fire.
You see the thing on the launch pad and it takes a bit of hesitation. Then with this tremendous roar, it starts to defy gravity.
And then it would twist as it took off.
And then to see it land, my goodness. The coolest visual you could possibly imagine. It's gliding.
3 days later, after a successful mission, the space shuttle came down and landed on a runway.
Columbia lands in California like it just kind of flew in from Reno.
The landing gear popped out and it touched down on the ground.
And then they just get out, like no big deal. What baggage carousel are we? Hey, did they say what carousel space is on?
It was a great day for America.
And then, can we please start on the lunar city? Could we please begin? Tick-tock on the clock, people.
I was in the newsroom at a TV station I was working at in Kansas.
I was watching it from home. I remember exactly.
I heard my grandma screaming.
The whole thing seemed unreal.
I mean, someone got to the president.
I remember watching the footage over and over again.
Reagan is walking out of the Washington Hilton Hotel. There's crowds all around him. And then just feet before he steps into his limousine, you start hearing pop, 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 pop.
And the next thing you know, they're all stuffing the president into that limousine.
And in an instant, it was over. But we didn't know what happened.
In 1981, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have 24-hour news.
We had to wait, and the news gradually leaked, and we came to realize that, oh my God, the president had indeed been shot.
But for all intents and purposes, we didn't know what was going on.
News came to you by the spoonful.
Is he living? Do we have a president? Is it Russia?
It wasn't just important and crucial for America, it stopped the world.
A lot of people thought that there was a real danger of America completely spinning out of control.
Who is making the decisions for the government right now?
As of now, I am in control here in the White House, pending return of the Vice President.
Who's in charge? Who's in charge? I'm in charge. That was my favorite moment of the whole Reagan assassination.
The doctors now say Mr. Reagan sailed through the operation. He's in stable and good condition.
The first day, the coverage was very serious. But then things seemed to lighten up.
One of the most, badass gangster things about Reagan is he didn't stop being Reagan. Like, he told jokes.
Well, I guess I forgot to duck.
Speaking to the doctors, he said, I hope you're all Republicans.
If that joke doesn't land, you guys are all Republicans, right? And the surgeon's like, funny you should ask.
No, Mr. Reagan. I voted for someone else. Turns the gas off.
John Hinckley Jr. is the man accused of trying to kill President Reagan. He's being held at the Quantico Marine Base in Virginia, and today he underwent some psychiatric tests to see if he's competent to stand trial.
Assassins are always a little bit nuts, let's face it. But this guy was the full Monty.
It was some guy randomly obsessed with Jodie Foster.
Which has always been ironic to me because after most Jodie Foster movies, I want to shoot myself.
I would have loved to see John Hinckley Jr.'s face when he found out that Jodie Foster was playing for the other team.
His other crushes, Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, and Ellen DeGeneres.
What was going on with these assassins in '81? They shot Reagan, they shot the Pope. If they had attempted to shoot Margaret Thatcher, they would have had the hat trick.
Nothing succeeds like survival. The fact that Ronald Reagan faced deadly violence, survived it with class and dignity,
His approval went through the roof after this.
In less than 2 weeks, he was back at the Oval Office.
It was able to help Reagan push his tax plan through Congress, something that was receiving a lot of opposition.
The idea that it was a unifying moment for the country as opposed to what it might be today is, kind of a reminder that we might have lost our way a little bit.
It was okay to be like patriotic again. It was like the floodgates had opened for like the red, white, and blue, rah, rah, America. It was awesome. It was awesome.